Good evening. Welcome to Hardfire. I'm Ronald Wick. I'm your host for a special two-part edition devoted to the controversy surrounding the attacks of 9/11, September 1. My guest tonight is Les Jamieson of New York 9/11 Truth. He's a representative of the movement. He's been very visible in airing his concerns about the alleged official cover-up. I'd like to begin by thanking him for having the courage of his convictions. We invited Jim Hoffman, a prominent conspiracy theorist, to join us last month. At the last minute, he decided not to show. So we're very grateful to Mr. Jamieson for being with us tonight. I'd like to begin by just reading a short paragraph from the Skeptical Inquirer magazine, an article that appeared a few years ago by Susan Hack, a philosopher of science. The title of the article is Science, Scientism, and Anti-Science in the Age of Preposterism. I like that word. 100 years ago or so, C.S. Peirce, a working scientist as well as the greatest of American philosophers, distinguished genuine inquiry from, quote, sham reasoning, pseudo-inquiry aimed not at finding the truth, but at making a case for some conclusion immovably believed in advance, and predicted that when sham reasoning becomes commonplace, people will look, quote, on reasoning as merely decorative, end quote, and will, quote, lose their conceptions of truth and reason. Now, you'll admit this is an important concern. How do we judge when we receive so much information from so many sources? How do we separate the wheat from the chaff? How do we know what to believe? Who is a responsible spokesman? Who's just blowing smoke?
Sure. I think that's an excellent question and excellent quote. I would answer that by saying that in the case of the destruction of the World Trade Centers and the other categories of analysis of 9/11, such as the alleged hijackers, the events of that day with the 4 hijacking simultaneously, and the stand down or the absence of air defense. All these kinds of categories, the 14 months it took until there was an actual investigation. We can apply reasoning of the highest order to every one of these categories, and that's what most people in the movement have tried to do, and I think it's easily identifiable apart from those that are much more fringe or speculation.
Okay, I'm glad that you drew a distinction between pure speculation and the products of reasoned inquiry.
Yes.
There has always seemed to me to be a certain degree of incoherence in the presentation of many conspiracists. I'd like to read a quote that you gave. I believe it was to New York Magazine, and it made an impression on me. It got me thinking. You said, I read a story in Newsweek which said these generals were told earlier that week not to fly. Obviously, someone knew. My reaction was, holy expletive deleted. This process has been one holy expletive deleted after another. And I find that interesting because it suggests that you've gradually come around to the position you presently hold, that this is not something that emerged full-blown like Athena springing from Zeus's forehead. When the attacks occurred, you had no problem accepting the idea that Arab terrorists flew planes into the buildings?
When the attacks occurred, I, like almost everybody, I would say, was immersed in the shock and the trauma of it. But
True.
Underneath it, I did have an intuitive questioning going on, which was, how in the world could our multi-trillion-dollar intelligence establishment, the most sophisticated in the world with satellite technology and multi-trillion-dollar software that monitors all kinds of communications, how could they not know? So that was my sense. And then a few months later, I was listening to a radio show on WBAI, a gentleman by the name of Ralph Shulman had a show, and that he had information that really opened up the whole inquiry for me, and then it proceeded from there. And so this is since November of 2001 I've been studying. this.
Yeah, I want to get back to this business about the generals being warned. I mean, all right, we can touch on the failures of American intelligence. We know that American intelligence has performed very badly, particularly over the last decade. So any degree of incompetence that someone is willing to allege, I'm all ears. You know, I think they can miss lots of things. But again,
Can I just interrupt
sure.
you really quickly? The incompetence factor, though, has to really be studied between the CIA and FBI agencies. And I think
apparently there was a block, though, between the two of them.